telephone call. Things were getting weird. Things were getting tough. Nothing was making sense. But Arthur Weintraub, an insurance manager, kept looking up. He filled a glass with sarsaparilla, got his phone contact book and dialed someone called Maximilian Sommertzeit, a physician from the Royal Health Institute. Hello, Max. This is Arthur, Abraham's sibling. I work at the Central Insurance. My mental health is getting worse and worse. I heard you studied the Royal Arts of Healing. Could you help me? It's serious. Hello, Arthur. I don't think I remember you. When did we meet? Last year. You went to the Central to make an insurance plan. You even brought your wife, Joanne. She looked so glad to be married to you. How is she, though? Joanne is fine. We had a child 2 months ago. It's a boy. We called him Americus, in honor to my beloved grandfather, Sir Americus Yorkshire, the Great. What's your mental health problem anyway? Glad you asked, Max. Sometimes, I feel depressed. My head hurts and the stress is taking over my body. What do you recommend to me? Mr. Weintraub. You can call me by my name, please. Abraham. It's Arthur. Abraham is my sibling. Arthur, I am currently working at the Royal Health Institute. It's near the Suave Oyster Cafe. If you want, I could book you an appointment. Would you like? Yes, please. Great. What day of the week is better for you? Friday. Which time? 5 o'clock. I can book for you at 5:30 p.m. Is it okay? Yes. Your appointment is set for Friday, 5:30 p.m. Perfect, Max. Thank you for your cooperation. No, Arthur. I thank you for calling me. When Arthur Weintraub hung the telephone, he thought. He didn't want to be neither rich, famous, nor even the best. He just wanted to be happy. Although he liked his job as an insurance manager, he really needed some rest. Arthur finished his glass of sarsaparilla, took a warm shower and went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Daniel, his father, who suffered from a rare mental disease, was in the living room watching the breaking news. Arthur called him out, and, a few moments later, he heard the television shutdown sound and slipper steps coming from the living room to the kitchen. Arthur wasn't a good cook, but he knew some cooking tricks. For that night, he had made pork ribs with barbecue sauce, Daniel's favorite. As garnish, there were fries and tomato salad. It smells great, Daniel said. Where's Abraham, though? He told me he was going to join us. Abraham won't be able to join us. He's in a meeting with a foreigner. Business, I guess. Daniel wondered. Well, let's eat. Daniel and Arthur Weintraub ate the food displayed on the table and went to bed afterwards. Arthur thought on his life so far while lying on the cushions. All the objectives and missions accomplished made him feel special in a weird manner. His thoughts brought him to his former fiancée, whom left him weeks before marriage. Her name was Teresa Almond. He didn't know why Miss Almond would leave him, but he had some clues. One of them involved Charles Sanders, an airplane pilot. Miss Almond and Mr. Sanders flew to the Caribbean islands to live there and forget their old lives. Arthur turned over and felt a teardrop running through his face. He never forgot Teresa Almond. Arthur fell asleep. The day after, Arthur Weintraub woke up and got dressed. He ate his breakfast and rushed to his work, at the Insurance Central. The secretary greeted him with good morning, just as his office colleagues. It was Friday, the day of his appointment with Dr. Sommertzeit. When Arthur sat at his desk, his phone rang. It was an unknown calling. The insurance manager answered the call. Hello? Arthur, is it you? The caller said. Arthur almost didn't recognize the voice at first. Abraham? How are you, brother? Well, things are not as they were expected. What happened? Was the meeting with the foreigner all right? Abraham's voice looked nervous. Yes, that's exactly what I want to talk to you. What is it? The foreigner I met yesterday is actually a drug dealer. He is from Colombia and his name is Ricardo Velez. Isn't Ricardo Velez an actor? No. That's another Ricardo Velez. Please, brother, I need help. Listen, Abraham, I can't speak right now. I have a meeting scheduled, I call you later. Arthur hung the phone off and thought in what trouble his sibling Abraham would have been into. Arthur was younger than Abraham, but it was Abraham who managed to be in danger most of the times. Many times, the dangers were harmless, but this time Arthur was really worried. What could this drug dealer Ricardo Velez do to his older sibling? There was no way to know. After the meeting, Arthur searched on his web browser the identity of Ricardo Velez. He found news reporting that Velez was wanted in Colombia for corruption, money laundering, drug dealing and being in possession of guns. Velez was hidden in Argentina. The clock on his computer showed the time. 4:45. Arthur got up from his desk and went to his appointment with Dr. Sommertzeit. Maximilian Sommertzeit looked exactly the same as the first time Arthur Weintraub saw him. He was short. He didn't have much hair, but the hair he had was gray. He was wearing a physician white coat, with just his last name written in it. Good afternoon, Mr. Weintraub, greeted Maximilian Sommertzeit. What's the matter, then? Sometimes, I feel depressed. My head hurts and I feel weak. What do you recommend me? What you actually need is some rest, but I will give this medicine. It's a plant-based drug, made with a root that grows in the middle of Mexico, called ayahuasca. Take this once a day, before you go to sleep. Be aware it's a very powerful drug. Sure. I will do everything to get better, said Arthur. Thank you, Mr. Sommertzeit. When the night fell, Arthur Weintraub took 2 drops from the medicine and lay down. It wasn't difficult for him to fall asleep, any like the other days. In a few minutes, Arthur was sleeping in a deep rest, which no one could ever wake him up. Then, the dream came. It wasn't just a dream, it was a nightmare. Arthur was soaked in sweat beneath the sheets. In his dream, Arthur Weintraub was in a cage surrounded by dark shadows. They were whispering inaudible sounds, but Arthur was terrified. Suddenly, the cage hatch unlocked and he was pulled out. Arthur was now riding a bicycle in very hot ground. The front wheels of the vehicle were melting. His bicycle fell down in a sewer and all he could feel was cold and fear. He managed to get out of the sewer and saw the sun collide with his body. Arthur woke up. He was drenched in his own sweat. Would it be some kind of side effect of the ayahuasca pills he took earlier? He didn't know. Should he call Doc Sommertzeit, telling all the hallucinations he just had? Arthur glanced at the table clock. 3 a.m. It was better not to bother the physician. But Arthur couldn't sleep again. He dried himself with a tissue and changed clothes. He was going for a walk. Outside his home, he decided to go in a straight line, without minding the path. If he got lost, he would turn around and back up to his residence. There was a small forest in the dead end of his street, that he had never had the guts to explore it. Now he had. Under the effect of ayahuasca pills, Arthur Weintraub walked forward to the woods. It was still very dark and Arthur couldn't see very well. The insurance manager saw a weird pile of dirt and leaves near an oak tree. There were also a shovel and puddles of a red liquid on the ground. Arthur smelled the liquid and confirmed it was blood. He took the shovel and dug the pile of dirt. What Arthur found shocked him. It looked just like the picture from the mugshot of Ricardo Velez, in Colombia detention house. There were wounds and scabs in Velez's face, but Arthur still recognized him. He touched his pockets, looking for his phone, but he realized he had forgotten it in his house. He had nothing with him. Suddenly, Arthur Weintraub heard a beep 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 sound. The sun rays warmed his room as they passed through the blinds. Arthur was drenched in sweat. He took a shower and went downstairs for breakfast. The insurance manager turned on the television. The anchorman in the news segment looked sad. With a heavy tone, he told his audience. A man around his 40 years old was found dead in the woods. His identity confirms as a drug dealer who was hidden in Argentina. His name is Ricardo Velez. Daniel Weintraub, Arthur's father, turned the TV off. "I want bacon," he cried. While cooking the sliced bacon that Daniel loved, Arthur dialed to his brother Abraham. "Hey, Abraham, your foreigner friend is dead." "I know, because you murdered him." "Congratulations, brother. You did it." Arthur looked confused. "I just don't get it." "You'll get, trust me." Abraham Weintraub hung up the phone. Arthur left his home with his briefcase and entered his car. While leaving the neighborhood, the people looked at him with disgust. A police car chased his car with sirens on. "Stop the car right now, Weintraub. We caught you. You're under arrest." Arthur did what he was supposed to do. The police officer handcuffed him and put him in the police car. How could Arthur Weintraub kill a man if he was sleeping? That story was very strange, but Arthur preferred not to talk very much. Things were finally getting tied up. The answers were coming, he felt. A news reporter said to the camera as Arthur entered the police station. "The murderer of Ricardo Velez was found and he is going to jail, but with his punishment shortened. Once Ricardo Velez was a very bad criminal." What a relief. Arthur did kill Ricardo Velez with his bare hands. Everything was clear. In the night he took the ayahuasca pills, someone got into his house. It was Ricardo Velez. He wanted the money Abraham, Arthur's brother, promised him if he was ever reported to the police. The only person with money in the family was Arthur, because Abraham was addicted to gambling and Daniel was mentally insane. Arthur got his handgun from the drawer and shot at cold blood Ricardo Velez to death. Arthur went to the garage to get a trash bag and a shovel and went to the woods to dispose the body, safe that no one would find out. The insurance manager, a few hours later, after a nightmare that left him soaked, went for a walk in the mysterious woods and found the body he disposed, revealing his own crime. After Arthur's confession of the crime, he was convicted to life sentence and fulfilled his dream of being arrested. As for Daniel Weintraub, he was sent to a mental asylum and died a couple years later of pancreatic cancer. No one knew where Abraham Weintraub went. He just vanished. Some people say Arthur's brother took the place of Ricardo Velez, selling drugs and living in incognito in Argentinian grounds. The end.